being shameless in the sense that I don't care what the response is. I've made some of my closest friends through networking. Throw that out the window!
That's a smart student thing to do.
I remember maybe a time before reading. I don't remember a time before writing.
Welcome back to another episode of Homie Highlights, a show where I invite and highlight my friends, my homies, their stories, and we talk about all things life. On today's episode, we have a very special guest. She is a sister, a friend, a creative, entrepreneur, globetrotter. She is the girl that takes on the world with her wealth of wisdom and her heart of gold. May I present to you, Annie Chopra. Okay, Annie, thank you for coming onto the show.
Thank you for such a lovely introduction. If we weren't on camera, I would have cried a little bit.
Can you do a quick self-introduction?
Hi everyone, I'm Annie Chopra. I am 26 years old. I'm third culture, which basically means that I was born and raised around the world. So I'm very multicultural. Life's cool that way. I am a marketer, so I basically provide marketing consultancy and contractual work to education startups typically, as well as travel startups and just startups in general, really. I really like being in the startup environment. I am also an entrepreneur. I have led a digital media company and I am also an author. I really enjoy writing. I also really enjoy reading and I do indeed travel around the world. So that's me.
Globetrotter, you'll be the cool aunt.
I will be the cool aunt, always.
Okay, so let's start with where we actually met. Quick rundown of that.
I know. Okay, so we met in primary school actually.
Yes.
Grade 5, we were very small and I think you have a better recollection of when you saw me. I don't have that much of a recollection when we first met. I just remember being friends with you. This was like pre-Instagram era. So we used to connect on like Skype and Facebook Messenger
Oh my God, yes.
and MSN. Do you remember MSN?
I don't know if I've ever had that, but I definitely had stayed in contact with my friends through email.
Did you get your email made in KTSOC too?
No, I had mine made, well, my mom made it for me when I was 5 in Australia. Still my main email now.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I had, so Shua is our best friend. We're actually a trio.
Yes.
And we all met in KTSOC.
Shua, we miss you.
We do indeed. And we had ours made in computer class in grade 4.
Oh.
So I have a very vivid recollection of having my email made in Laos.
We've been friends for 17 years. After she left school in Laos and she went to her next country and I was still in Laos for a little bit, since then we've only met twice. And I keep saying this, but like honestly, even though we haven't met in person after a long time, it feels like no time has passed at all.
I second that thought process. I feel like in my brain, I just feel like we've managed to have really good communication on Instagram, on call. Like we made sure that we always like were updated with each other.
Yeah.
So I think that's really helped. And it honestly never felt like there was distance. Like I think when we met, it did immediately feel like, oh, we met yesterday.
Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's how it always feels.
Yeah.
Yeah, and today we're actually filming in Saigon, which you probably usually don't see me filming in. Although I am Vietnamese, this is my country, but I am the visitor and Annie has been my lovely tour guide here in Saigon.
This is my 4th year in Saigon. I'm a little bit obsessed. And when I say 4th year, I'm not like here constantly, but I go out of the country and then I come and visit it every year for like 2 to 3 months, depending on the time availability and other, situations. And yeah, it's just a lovely city and I'm always so glad to be back. And I was glad that we met last time. We met in Hanoi.
Yeah.
So I went to her hometown and then we had an opportunity to meet. But now we are in Saigon and she's here to see me because we wanted more time together, obviously.
I also wanted to ask, what made you choose Saigon the first time and what keeps you coming back after all these years?
Oh, that's a tough question because I don't really remember exactly why we chose Saigon. So I travel with my family and so we make collective decisions. The first time we were traveling again, we'd been in our home country for an extended about 5 years at that point. And for people who travel so much, that is a halt. Like it's difficult to be in a country that one, you don't connect to on a very spiritual, emotional level. Being in that country for that extended amount of time, that's difficult. So probably end of the pandemic, this is 2021, end of 2021, we decided we wanted to do a trip to Dubai. I was born there. I feel like it had a calling. We were meant to go there a couple of years back again as a family. So it was my first time traveling after 5 years, traveling on our own money,
Yes.
which was new as well as an adult. And Dubai was my home. It was the place I was born at. It was really emotional. And we went for barely 6 days. But I remember still, like, when we landed, and I just had like tears. I was like, oh my God, I didn't think this was possible. I didn't think I had it in me to leave the country on my own money, on my own. I was so overwhelmed with emotion. And being there, it reminded me of why I had this vision of being abroad so much. Imagine traveling. A lot of people are like, oh, but it's not always as you imagine it in your head.
Right.
For me, it was actually genuinely better than I imagined it in my head. And I was like, it removed this fear I had of what if because I wanted to move with my family. I wanted to travel with my family. What if I take them to a place and it f***ing sucks?
Yeah.
Like, what if they hate it and I've just made their life 10x worse? So it removed that fear. And then we were like, okay, we need to do this for an extended period, but we can't do Dubai because Dubai is really expensive.
Yeah.
So we were like, where can we go? Where do we have a visa availability? And we found Thailand. I was like, well, I don't just want to do Thailand because that's just like 2 months. We were trying to do an elongated period.
So like your tourist visa into Thailand is 2 months?
Yeah, it was 2 months because we didn't get the on arrival visa. We got we went to the embassy and it was the first time so my father was a diplomat. I never had to get a visa. So it was the first time I had to do like the entire process. Vietnam became an option just because it had a longer visa availability. Like, we were supposed to, first time we were here, be here for a month because that's how long the visa was, but we hadn't done our return flights.
Okay.
Yeah. So we stayed in Chiang Mai. And that was lovely, but we wanted to do a city that was, that looked like it was a city. We wanted to stay comfortably in like a good apartment complex. So we just really watched a bunch of YouTube videos about Vietnam and what were the best places. So initially, funnily enough, we were actually supposed to go to Nha Trang because it was more fiscally better, like monetarily, it was just cheaper, etc. But we started watching a lot of videos about Ho Chi Minh and it ended up just being so lovely in the videos. We were like, okay, we'll figure it out there. Once we go there, we have 1 month, so we'll book for a little bit, and then we'll see if we like it. If not, we'll go to Nha Trang. And what keeps us coming back is it was supposed to be 1 month the first time, and we stayed like 2.5 months. We did a visa run, and we stayed. Never doing that again. I don't know why and how people do it all the time. It stressed me out. It stressed me out so much. I'm like, I'm never doing a visa run again. I'll leave the country. I think what really keeps at least me coming back is the people. There's such a wonderful community of people. I've made a lot of friends, right? This is my 4th year, so I do have a really big support system. I love the business environment. I like that people are so open because the international business environment it's just beginning, right? Like a lot of people here have told me, oh, Ho Chi Minh is going to be like Shanghai in another decade. People are very open to talk to each other. They want to share their experiences, their life. When I first came here, I was 23. So it was useful to have people who were so much older, so much more experienced, and they didn't care about anything. One of the first friends I made here was a YouTuber with like 1 million followers, and he did not give it. He's so down to earth, just like, oh, yeah, let me tell you about my life. So I was like, whoa, people just like chill here, like with each other. They've made the city in a way it's very easy to be in, and it is an easy city. There's so many cafes, there's Wi-Fi everywhere, which just makes life so much easier, to be honest.
Is that not the case in New Delhi?
It's not the case in most countries,
Okay.
I'd say. I've been to Malaysia, not the case there. They have Wi-Fi some places, not everywhere. Jakarta had it in some places, not everywhere. Oh, India is not a Wi-Fi friendly, like work remotely kind of place, in my opinion. Here in Thailand is the only places I saw like Wi-Fi's everywhere.
Okay. I think I've gotten so used to it that I kind of expect it everywhere I go now. Like it's the norm. So Annie has clearly been in Saigon many more times for much longer than I have. This is actually only I think my 3rd time in Saigon. The first time I don't remember, I was too young. Second time, I was not in the great mental space, so I think my perception of Saigon back then is not accurate.
Has it changed a little bit in the past 2 days?
Yes, it has changed a lot.
I was like, the minute you told me your mental space was like not great, so you didn't have a good perception, I was like, I'm gonna change your mind about the city. The city is shit. It's like the best thing in the world.
This is the shit.
Exactly.
It's not shit.
It's the shit. Exactly.
I think within the last couple of days, like meeting the people that you have met, the connections that you've made, and just like how you enjoy Saigon, getting around by yourself, making friends, all of that has been like, oh, I actually kind of like it here. I can see why people are drawn to Saigon. Like even from people from Hanoi move down here. And I'm not so scared of it anymore. Yeah. Yeah.
To be fair, the very first time I was here, I was terrified of the city. It was really loud and it was chaotic. What people like to say about Saigon is it's organized chaos.
Yes, there is some order.
There is order.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Was it hard making friends the first time you moved abroad, like in this sense?
I'm sure a lot of people would love if I said, yeah, it was so hard, but it happened. It was really easy.
Yeah? That's awesome.
It was really easy. You know me. I've always been a pretty open, extroverted person. The only thing is, when I was in India for a long time, I was working from home and I didn't really have a connection with anyone. I didn't used to go out. So for an extended period of time, I was at home a lot and not talking to anyone, not networking. There was definitely a fright when I first came out, like, oh, this is going to be a little hard, isn't it? Like, am I still an extrovert? What if I've become an introvert and I can't have a conversation with people? That lasted like maybe 2 hours. And I went out into the world and I was like, oh, never mind. I still know how to talk to people. Yeah. I mean, at the bright side, I was still talking to all of my friends online. And really, you realize that it's not that much different. The only thing is, it's lovely to be in person with people.
Right.
It's, you know, it's nice to have that. I mean, I'm so grateful we get to do this face to face. I feel like it adds to our connection as friends.
Yes.
But yeah, it's not really that much difference with video calling and all of that. So yeah, it was pretty easy. Chiang Mai made it very easy.
That was your first stop,
That was
right?
our first stop. I think we were very blessed in that Chiang Mai was the first stop and it ended up being such a beautiful experience. People were so lovely. And I felt really welcomed. I immediately went to a co-working spot. And I happened to make a lot of friends there. And then after that, it was not that scary, really. Like the first day, everyone was so kind. I also did Bumble BFFs. I met some really cool women there, and we became really good friends. I'm still really good friends with them. So I really tried actively to create friendships. And I was very open to the fact that it will take time and process. But I think everyone comes with the same headspace. So many of the people I meet are also people who are traveling, also people who are discovering different parts of their lives. They're very open to friendship and they're also looking for connection. And I think that really helps.
I had the misconception that people go to co-working spaces as in like they bring their colleagues and then they just sit in their own space and they do their own work. But apparently that's not the case, huh?
It is not. At least not the ones I've been to. So there can be a lot of co-working spots that are a little more professional. And people do go with their colleagues and all of that. I think that's the case a lot with Saigon, from what I've seen.
Oh, like they stay in their own bubble more at co-working spaces?
Yeah, but in Chiang Mai, for example, as well as in Jakarta, it's very open. So there's like a lunchtime. So everyone goes down to have lunch. And so everyone ends up talking to each other. And it's basically like you're in a big office, really.
Yeah.
But everyone's doing their own thing and they actually like what they're doing. I think that's the only difference.
We'll segue into the next section, which is about networking.
I started networking around the age of 17, 18.
17.
So the thing is, when my dad passed away, I was 17 and we didn't have any connections and we didn't have a lot of money. And it was a very quick and easy learning of, oh, we'll have to start building something immediately. And, you know, we're diplomats, so we've seen the way the world works very vividly. And your connections take you a lot of places. They really do. And it's very important. I would say that I'm very blessed that I've been in really good schools. So I was very confident in myself and had a really easy time communicating. And our schools did put us in positions where we had to communicate with people we're not typically used to communicating. I'd say the same about being part of the embassy. And they have events. It is up to you to be welcoming to the other people of the community.
Yes.
So it does teach you to be kinder and to have a communication with people outside of the group of people you're connected to. So I think that had already given me a bit of a experience with networking. Not to that extent that you need like a professional environment, but I think it's a good start. I started really properly networking when I started working. So I was 17 and I started looking for internships. I interned with people. And then I realized that I wanted to run my own business because I really liked, I was really into women empowerment. But before that even had like a non-profit for sexual harassment, etc. So I ran that when I was 17. And I think that was my first foray into trying to build a network completely online. So I would email people a lot, and I managed to get some really interesting people to talk to me, some psychologists, big psychologists to respond to me. I mean, I think really like the side note of, hey, I'm just 17 was really helpful. Like they were like, oh, look at this ambitious child. I want to help you. So that was very, very useful. When I finally was like not able to use the age thing anymore, it was really sad. I was like, oh, now I actually have to work a little harder on being more impressive. Up until like 22, 23, everyone's like, oh my God, that's so impressive. At like 26, it's like, oh, how are you not a millionaire yet? But yeah, like I first started networking just online. So making a lot of friends on Instagram, trying to build connection.
Did you just like cold email them?
Oh yeah, I cold messaged so many people. I slid into the DMs of like famous people, etc. It actually ended up resulting in really great things. Because at the time it was just really new, right? Like this is 2018, 17. I got to talk to some really cool people. And when I started my own business, She the Queen, and I was interviewing people, and I ran like influencer marketing for the first time in my life without even knowing that it was influencer marketing what I was doing, right? That was a lot of networking, because you have to like reach out, talk, etc., build that connection, and that really helped. And then with She the Queen, I also wanted to break into like fashion shows and all of that. So I started going to fashion shows, and I will be honest, fashion shows are probably the place where it's the hardest to network. Those people are not very welcoming. They look you up and down and wonder if you have the money to be of matter.
So you would be reaching out to people and asking them to promote She the Queen?
Basically, I was reaching out to them to be part of She the Queen, and promotion was part of it. So it was both like a collaboration as well as marketing.
Got it. Have you gotten any like rejections?
Oh, all the time. I mean, I don't get responses so many times, especially in She the Queen era. I mean, there were like 100 messages and like 20 people would respond, or like some days like you'd send lots of messages and no one would respond. But really, that's what business is about, right? It's about taking the rejections head front. I have this very interesting thing I like to call the shameless syndrome. I've been talking to people about it all the time. It's I don't know if it's a thing already, but if it's not, then I should probably like, I don't know, trademark it.
Yes.
But I say that I have shameless syndrome, which is I'm not ashamed of reaching out as many times as possible. And it's helped me in a lot of different areas of my life. Being shameless in the sense that I don't care what the response is. Really, a lot of people I reach out to are on such a high level. I am shamelessly sending the messages. I'll be like, hi, how are you doing? Hi, you didn't see my last message. You didn't see my last 3 messages.
Oh, you double, triple text these
Triple,
people.
fourple text. Like, it doesn't, I beg. I do it shamelessly because truly, what is there to be ashamed of? People stop so much of the possibilities and opportunities they have from coming to them because they're embarrassed. And so many times that embarrassment is very silly because people who are very, very busy are probably not checking their DMs that often. And maybe they checked it and then they completely forgot. They were like, maybe I wanted to respond to this 20-year-old, but I completely forgot.
Yeah, in the sea of DMs that they get.
Exactly. So you have to be a little shameless about it. And even now I am. And people are like, well, isn't it awkward if someone doesn't respond to your email and then you see them in person? I'm like, no. Because if I won't mention it, sometimes if I really want the business, I'll be like, hey, did you see my 7 messages to you? But if I don't care, then I won't mention it. And sometimes they'll mention it to me like, hey, I'm so sorry for not responding to your messages. And I'm like, oh, that's fine. Don't worry about it. We're all busy. And you move on and you have a conversation. And you know what that does is also takes away the pressure from their end. And they realize, oh, you don't care. And then they do eventually reach out back if they haven't before. So it does help.
So you grew up in a diplomatic environment in which you understood the importance of connecting with people.
Yeah.
And then as a teenager, you started networking. Did you find it came natural to you, or was it kind of difficult at first?
I am a very extroverted person, so connecting is easy. I'll tell you what's hard in networking is keeping the connection. Knowing how to follow up with people, that's really difficult. And knowing when is the right time to follow up with them. So that really comes with time, practice, and effort.
Yes.
And also finding who the right people to network with are. Now I can be a little more mindful. When I was starting out, I honestly really didn't care who I was networking with because I was just practicing a lot. And also anyone who was part of my network was someone valuable because I didn't have a network. When you start building and having a network, you can be a little more strategic about it, basically. At the same time, I'm not that strategic about it because I am of the belief that everyone eventually can be helpful. So I'm in so many different industries, and there's been so many times that I don't think I'm going to work with someone, but eventually 3 years, 4 years later, our paths cross, right? So it's good to make sure that you are creating the rapport. And the rapport is where people struggle the most. And I think that's probably where I struggled the most as well.
Networking itself isn't the hard part.
You get used to it. You get used to it. There are times when it's hard because there are certain communities you enter into and they don't want to let you in. And that's going to happen. Sometimes there are certain industries, people don't like it. Sometimes you'll end up in places where everyone knows each other. But the more used to you become to being okay with it and like the fact that people don't care, it's fine. And also like I end up not wanting to be in a place where I feel unwelcome. So I don't end up really going there again. If I felt so unwelcome, I'm not going to go back there because then you're not my people. Because if that's how you treat the world, then you're not in a growth mindset. Because I believe that people who have a growth mindset are very open and they want to learn from each other.
And they want other people to grow.
Exactly.
I've told you this before, but I really admire that aspect of you, of how you network. And personally, before coming to Saigon, I had never gone to a networking event before, and I had so many fears about it, so many misconceptions. So yesterday, Annie actually took me to my first ever networking event, and it has changed my mindset a lot about it. But before we get into me sharing my experience, I want to do a little segment in which I will present to you some myths, and you can bust them.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, so this segment is called Myth or Matter, a segment where I present our guest with some myths or common preconceptions of a certain topic, and they will either debunk it or give us reasons as to why it actually makes sense.
Okay.
Today's topic is networking. Ms. Annie Chopra, please choose a misconception.
Okay, this is so fascinating. Imagine I don't know anything about it. Networking relationships are mostly transactional, only for job searching, whereas relationships should form naturally. Can you expand on that for me a little bit? Like, what do you mean?
Like, as in people only go to networking events for professional purposes, and you don't actually make friends out of it?
I've made some of my closest friends through networking. You know, we met Jessie yesterday.
Yes.
I've met her through the fact that I networked with her husband and someone she knew. So that's like a connection that happened through networking. Most of my closest friends that I know is through networking. This is completely false. It's not all transactional. And to be fair, like if you go into it in a transactional manner, you will not be able to connect with people at all because people don't want to be around people who are just transactional. Everyone realizes that life is all about social connections. We're humans. Humans are social animals. Yeah, of course, people do go to summits, conferences, etc. to do business. But you also meet amazing people and learn about amazing stories, and you have to be open-minded to that. There have been times that I've gone to conferences with there's been nothing, no monetary gain. Does that feel like shit sometimes? Yeah, it does. But ultimately, you do make a lot of friends, and really with relationships as an adult, you never know when it'll come in handy. So I don't think you should go with the thought process that it's all about transaction. And transaction is part of human connection as well. So that's okay. It's not something to shy away from either.
Are there people you've met through networking where it's like, it's not a business opportunity at all, but you've just become just friends with them?
Everyone. So many people. I go out with lunches, brunches too, with people who I don't think I'm probably ever going to work with. You never know. You might end up. It has happened that I thought I'd never work with someone and we ended up working together. And they knew someone who was a really good business opportunity. Or we are in the same mindset. We might be in completely different industries, but we're aiming towards the same things. And to be honest, if you want to grow in life, you need a really good circle. Your circle can make or break your life very easily. Like if you have bad people around you, boom, done, gone. You will become like them and you will fall. If you have the right people and you keep, kind of elevating, and this will sound very transactional. I don't know why people hate that so much. Really, you have to be a little transactional about your life. It's your life. And if you want to get somewhere and you're not privileged, you don't come from money or fame, or you don't already have that backbench. I didn't do even corporate work, so I didn't even have that. When you come from that, you do have to think a little about, well, what kind of people do I want to be with? That will help me get the next level. And sometimes those people are not in your industry. They don't work with you directly, but being in that connection, being in those rooms with those conversations leads you to that next level that you need to be at.
Okay, so we can confirm that is indeed a myth.
A myth.
All right, next question.
Let me do a yellow one.
Okay.
These are so cute. Networking has to be formal. There is no drama. Well, you debunked this yesterday yourself. Yeah. And to be honest, okay, this is really funny because when I started out with networking, maybe like 6-7 years back, it was very formal. I'm not going to deny it.
Was it just because the networking events that you were choosing to go to, or
I'll tell you what, I think it's because of the lack of Gen Z in those places. When I started working, there were very, very limited people my age, even 25.
Really?
In those spaces. There was really a lot of old mindset. The industries and all of that matters too. And the countries matter. In India, it's still a lot more formal.
Yeah.
People are very rigid. But the more younger people enter into these spaces, like now with so many Gen Z around me, because like now we're like 23, 24, a lot of them have businesses. So it's become a lot more chill. I think specifically in Southeast Asia, the environment in general is pretty, you know, like it's a relaxed environment. Like no one is really like dying to be like, let's make money, let's do this, let's do that. You know, people are pretty chill. I think people want to work here, but it's not as strict as Japan or America or India. So that does come into play. But no, networking is more formal. It can be chill. I mean, we went to a networking event yesterday. It was so chill.
You described it as having like 3 different tiers.
Yes.
There's like a really formal one, and the one we went to was like the least type of formal. Yeah. And people there were so chill.
Yeah.
And for me, I still found it like a little awkward at times. I guess because like we were doing like the speed networking where you only spend 2 minutes with one person. And I think I don't know how to utilize those 2 minutes in a way where I'm not stuck in small talk. I feel like I haven't got to like their why yet.
Yeah.
Can you do that in 2 minutes? Or what type of questions do you ask so that it surpasses the small talk?
I feel like that specific event and the 2 minute networking, it's not easy, even for people who are like seasoned networkers. I think it's just like, it's a game, and I think it adds a lot of essence. And I think no one takes it that seriously.
Okay.
But to be honest, part of networking is being okay with the awkward.
Yeah.
Being okay with the awkward, sit with the awkward, sit with the embarrassing moments. If like, you know, sometimes you're going to stand there with 2 people talking and, you know, you just want to look for your moment of entry. Like, you have to be okay with that.
Yeah, I was in a couple of those and I was like, oh, I guess it's my time to exit now. And I just leave. I was just talking to someone, I was just like, cut in. And it didn't even relate to me at all. They were just like, oh my God, hi, I'm leaving. And then they just kept talking. I was like, okay, I'll exit.
I unfortunately do that a lot. But I try to be more mindful of the people around me and making sure that they're included. But I think that does definitely come from having been in the excluded part a lot. Some people are just not mindful. They're honestly not trying to do that, I think.
On the one hand, I was like, oh, this person just cut in my conversation. But on the other hand, I was also trying to get out of that conversation. So... win-win.
Exactly. No, I get that. But you have to be okay with being in the awkward.
There was also people who pushed me like, go, keep on networking. Yeah, so they were like really supportive.
They are.
Yeah, and there were times where I would just be like standing there. But I realized that people don't care.
They don't.
They don't care if you're awkward. Like you're the only one that cares. And if you don't care, you'll have a good time.
You will.
Yeah. And I think if I come in with like a genuine curiosity of their story and why they're there, then it takes off the awkward for me.
It does. Being curious is a big part of networking. Yeah. You can't network if you're all about me. You can't do that. If you're eccentric, people hate you. I'm sorry, no one wants to hear you talk so much about yourself. It's really a back and forth, you know? It's all about like being present with people.
So verdict is there can be chill.
There can be chill events. Some are formal, some are chill, but it's not always formal.
Okay.
Your immediate work circle is enough. No need to network. Bullshit. Throw that out the window. No, this one is specifically just like, it's such a myth. You need people outside of your workspace, just not because of anything, but because you need people who are not in the continuous same environments as you to grow as a human individual.
That is so true.
And we talked about this recently. Remember, like the point is like, if you're continuously around the people with the same mindset, same stories, unfortunately, and without anyone wanting that, you will plummet. You will have found your own limit. So if you want to be limitless, you have to kind of go out of your boundaries and meet people. And like, honestly, a lot of people also just don't get along with people who they work with. So you need that support if you're going to be an adult. Being an adult needs a lot of support, especially in work. Sometimes work can be really stressful. So sometimes it's nice to have people in your industry with other companies and, you know, bounce ideas off of each other. Definitely a myth. Please go make friends. Don't just stay with your work friends. Also, like the minute you change your job, you will be alone. So that is not, that's a nasty place to be. I've seen people do that. Like they'll leave a job and then they have no friends. And it like really stresses them out. So don't do that to yourself.
And I think it's always good, like you said, to have people in different industries because they would have different perspectives, maybe on something that you're struggling with, something you're thinking about. Although it may be nice to have people around you who's always like confirming your beliefs, it stops growth. And you need like some rebuttal to really understand your opinions more.
You don't want to stunt your growth. That's the verdict on this. Like, don't stunt your growth by being around the same people. And this is not just about work. It's about everything.
Yes.
Don't just be friends with your college friends. Don't just be friends with your school friends. Really go out there and try to meet people and learn to be okay with having different opinions with people. Maybe not different values and morals, just very baseline, but you can have different opinions and sit with it and you can learn. And sometimes you think you hate like someone's opinion. You go home and 2 hours later you're like, that makes sense. Actually, never mind. So you can't get there unless you try to get there. Yeah. You're either naturally gifted at this. What are these questions?
These are myths. I actually search online for them.
Oh, that's insane. Okay, I'm so sorry if you feel this way, but no, this is not something you're naturally good at. If I'm being honest, I don't think there's anything such as just being naturally good at something. I think every single thing can be learned. So always have that mindset. If you go in with the mindset that, oh, I just can't do this, you'll never be able to.
Won't, yeah.
You won't be able to do it. You've capped yourself. Like that's a you problem. But no, there's really very few things in the world that people are just naturally good at. You can learn pretty much everything.
These are all online ones, and these are all ones that I believed in prior to yesterday.
I'm so glad you got that experience. I will say that is the best way to learn that the myths that you're considering, and as well as your fears, they don't really have a bound. There's no reasoning behind them. Yeah. It's good to actually go and put yourself in that situation.
Yeah, because I think for me, I understood that it was an irrational fear because I had no experience to back my fears off of.
And sometimes people do have a reason for it. Maybe they have a bad experience, but I would say like, it happens. Do it like another 2 to 3 times and you'll be okay with it. Like, I mean, it's very basic, right? Like just because you score a 0 on a test once doesn't mean you just never try again.
Right.
So you have to go with that mindset.
Yeah. After yesterday's networking event, I realized that my fear was irrational, that I could enjoy this. If I just give less shits, I will enjoy it more.
Yeah.
Like good curiosity, don't be so self-conscious. Obviously that comes with time.
Yeah, of course.
It's and learning about yourself. And I think like if I go back to Hanoi, I'm more willing to go to like social events now, make new friends, whether that be through workshops, could be like a coffee making workshop or like a pottery making workshop, whatever. Like start there. And then maybe join some networking events here and there, just to hear other people's stories, see why they're there.
And I'm telling you, most people want to make new friends. I used to go in with this thought process that people have enough friends and no one wants more friends. Clearly we all have a bandwidth for how much we can socialize, but trust me, like people are looking for more people. Because as you grow, your social circles, everything changes.
Right.
So ultimately people are always looking, and you never know when you find the person you were looking for and vice versa, not in a relationship romantic way, but really in life as well.
Yeah.
And you know what? Just remember, if you get closed off or something, like, it's just part of life.
Yeah. Like you click with some people.
You don't.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's fine.
There's this episode in Gilmore Girls, one of my favorite shows, in which Rory, the main character, thinks that this guy wants to ask her out, and she asks him if he wants to go for coffee, and he says no, and she just like dies about it. Don't be that. Don't be that person. Like, it doesn't matter. No one will remember. Move on. Trust me, most of the times no one's gonna like announce it, like, oh my god, she asked me for a coffee. No, people don't care. So, like, honestly, if a person's talking badly about you behind your back or thinks something is funny and makes fun of you, they're just like a really terrible person who really needs to learn to mature themselves.
Yeah.
And they have a really big learning growth to go through, but that's not a you problem. Their learning curve is their problem, you know?
Annie, thank you for debunking all of these myths. Honestly, if you're still not convinced, I would say exposure therapy worked really well for me. It may work for you as well. A very interesting topic that you raised in our prelim discussions about books and the impacts it has on your life.
Yeah.
I've always known you ever since primary school to be an avid reader. I think we both loved the library.
We did indeed.
And we both loved creative writing.
We did.
We went all out on creative writing in class. Like, we took it so seriously. I don't think anyone else
I think
took it.
my life depended on it.
I love those classes. And then our teacher would pin good essays on the board. Do you remember?
I don't, but I remember getting little stars. I lived for that.
Stars?
Yeah, like little stars. Or I think at one point we used to get like folders, like free folders for something.
Oh my god, yeah. Dude,
I still have those folders.
I don't remember like seeing them, but when you say free folder, that phrase, there were free folders.
If you're a teacher and you've been wondering how to bribe your students, free folders.
Do you remember when you started enjoying reading?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
It's such a beautiful story for me. I think I've always enjoyed reading to like an extent that people do, because I think that's because when I was 5, there was a friend of my dad's who gifted me a book this big, which is like fairy tales.
To a 5-year-old.
A 5-year-old, yeah. So I love that book, beautiful book. It's in Spanish. And I think at that time I was really just interested in fairy tales. Like I used to watch a lot of Snow White,
Same.
a lot of...
Yeah.
I was obsessed, okay, like dire obsession when she gave me that book of fairy tales. I was like, I will devour this. But looking back at that, I think, yeah, like maybe there was always this connection with reading. I don't remember it from that age. I do remember that in Laos, for example, they used to make us read in class.
Right.
And I had just gone to Laos after Spain and India. So in Spain, I was learning in Spanish mostly.
So they gifted you this book in Spain, I'm presuming.
In Spanish.
Okay.
In Spanish. It's a Spanish book. And Spanish was my first language that I learned. So
Spanish?
I learned Spanish before I learned English.
Before Hindi? Does Hindi count?
I don't know if it counts because I never really learned Hindi. Like I used to speak it at home, but I was like not good at it. But yeah, like the language I formed my thoughts in at the early stages of my life, Spanish.
Wow. Okay.
But the point to that was that Spanish, and then I went to India, and my English did not get any better. Then we went to Laos, where everyone used to speak in a lot of English. You'd go into class, and they would make you read in front of the whole class. That used to stress me out so much.
Really?
And because of that, I was scared. Like I won't sound good, and I was already getting bullied at the time, so I was scared. So I would read everything at home first so that I can make sure that when I go to class, I actually read properly.
That's a smart student thing to do.
It is a very smart student thing to do. And that made me read a lot. I don't remember enjoying it because I feel like I was stressed all the time. But there were some books that I read and I was like, wow. Like I think there was like Holes.
Oh my God, I remember
Loved Holes. Loved Jane Eyre. The Christmas Carol. So the Canterville Ghost.
Classics.
Loved these stories so much. And when I went to Mexico, I don't recall actively searching for reading options, but I was in the Spanish class, and by this time I had forgotten all of my Spanish, and my dad decided that it was a great idea to put me into a Spanish school. And what I mean by that is a school that quite literally teaches everything in Spanish.
Did you have like an English subject in Spanish school?
Yes, I did.
That was the only English
that was the only
used.
English, exactly. So my dad put me in that, and when I was in grade 6 and my Spanish was kind of getting better, not great, my Spanish teacher was harsh. Like my Spanish class teacher was harsh, and I hated him. Like I was like, why are you making life so difficult? This is my second language. Actually, it's my third language at this point. This is like not easy for me. So why? And he told us to read The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
To a 6th grader?
Yeah, to a 6th
Wow,
grader.
that's
Or was
awesome.
it 7th grade? One of
Either
those grades.
way.
And looked at the book, and you know what they say? Don't judge the book by its cover. I judged it so bad. I was like, this is the most boring book. This boring old man assigned me this really boring book because it's this man in the desert. Like, you're not going to get kids excited by that. There's no pictures. There's nothing. I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, this looks so boring. I start reading it, and I'm like, ooh, never mind. And I'm like, and I can't put it down. I think it was the first book I read in one sitting.
Dude, me too. But like much older in life. But it was the only book I sat and read in one sitting.
Cover to cover.
Yes, same.
I couldn't put it down. I loved it. And it also came to me in a really good time. I think I've always struggled with mental health. And at that time, I was also kind of struggling. And when it came to me, like the idea that you can achieve your dreams if you just focus and if you go for it, that was a very useful idea for me. Completely changed my perception of my teacher.
And he was like, he was an omen that sent me this book.
I really, really can't believe it. Like, I read that book and I was like, oh, maybe I was wrong about my teacher. Alchemist was when I realized I love reading. I mean, I feel like I remember being awakened to it and being like, wow.
Yeah.
And after that, I wanted books all the time. Like, every time we went out, I wanted to buy books. There's really cheap books in India, one of the best things in the world. We'd go some places and my dad would just buy me books on like the railway tracks or, places where you're going and like in the public. I read a lot of Paulo Coelho. He is still my favorite author. Some of the best books I've ever read. And it's just, that's where my deep love for reading started. And I've just remember reading so much ever since. I've never really stopped. And I started deliberately reading a lot more recently. So I was always reading because I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And then when I started working, and I didn't go to college. That's too long to get into.
Yeah.
So we'll skip the story, but I basically couldn't go to university. And I was like, well, I still need to learn. And I've always been a straight A student, right? I mean, I thought I would be a PhD student, So for someone who always thought that they'd go into PhD, to not ever go to university. That was a big, weird feeling for
I
me.
can imagine.
I was actively looking for online courses, so I did a bunch of those, certifications, and reading. And I realized that reading was really helping me learn things about business, about mindset. I needed it to really revamp the way I was thinking and really help me understand the world. I needed it to, just embrace my new life. And reading really helped.
And despite your very busy schedule now, you're still able to make time to read not 1, not 2, but 4 books at the same time.
I try to read 4 to 7 books every month. That is my goal. I feel like I'm behind because, do you know who Shashi Tharoor is?
No.
Shashi Tharoor is this really big Indian politician, and he apparently read 1.365 books in a year. So 1 book each day. And he's one of the most eloquent. Like, if you're not that great at public speaking, go search his videos. It is like, wow. Like, the way he sounds, the way he communicates. You're like, it's beautiful. It's mesmerizing.
Yeah.
And that man read 365 books a day for a year. And that just makes me feel like I'm not doing enough. Like, if you can do 365, I can at least hit 100.
So, like, what are your systems that you put into place so that you can balance all these things? For me, I feel like reading 2 books a month is not easy already.
Okay.
Yeah, you have a heavy workload. How do you break out your time?
So let me emphasize that when I say reading 4 to 7 books, I don't always finish those books in the same month.
Okay.
So sometimes I go halfway, sometimes I finish 2 or 3 of those books. Sometimes I do finish all the books in the month, right?
Yeah.
Depends on the month. The way I do it is, 1, I have a very strict morning routine. So in my morning routine, I read for anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how early I wake up. And it's one of the first activities I do. So I have genres of books that I read. Business book, mindset book. I used to do autobiographies. Right now I'm not doing that. And outside of autobiographies, I'm doing cultural. So Nunchi, for example, Ichigo, Ichi, Ikigai, all of these fall in the same pattern of books. I also do one fiction book. So I'm basically reading a lot of different kinds of books. That helps a lot because if you're reading all of the same kinds of books, it's gonna...
Imagine reading 4 fantasy novels at the same time. You will mess up the plot.
Exactly,
Yeah.
it's difficult. It's difficult to keep up. Your brain can't, especially as an adult when you have so many other things going on. So definitely different genres helps. Reading 1 hour in the morning really helps. When I can't do 1 hour, I do at least try half an hour. If I can't do it in the morning because I have a lot of work or I have deadlines I have to meet, then I try to do it sometime in the day when I finally have a breather. Another thing that I put into place for reading specifically is I take a book with me everywhere. Everywhere. That just in case I get some free time, I have my laptop on me all the time too, so I can work anytime. But if I have some free time and my brain is overloaded and I want to relax, I always have a book with me to be able to read. That really helps. I also always read before sleeping. So I have cut down on social media before. If you want to do more in life, just cut down on social media. That's like the #1 system I can tell you to put in place. I have a system in place right now where I don't check social media before 12 p.m. and I don't check it after 8 p.m. I also have social media limits, app limits on my phone. And at 1 hour, 1 hour, 15 minutes, it caps. And the thing is, I work in social media. So I also need to use the time I'm on social media to research.
It's all within that 1 hour.
Within that 1 hour. And it makes sure that I don't doom scroll. Because I have a cap and I need to make sure that I do the learning and the talking to people and responding to DMs and posting in that time. And that's very useful. And I don't always abide to the 1 hour, but it's helped me because by the time I'm doing 15 minutes, that's guilt tripping me. I'm like, okay, there's a reason for this.
Yeah.
So that's useful. And that's a big system. I think if you are struggling to always find time, check your technological habits. Are you watching too much TV? Are you on social media too much? Are you doom scrolling? Because typically the people who say they don't have enough time, that's the things they're doing. That's a big problem.
And I found that even if my screen time or social media time isn't that high, but if it's in small increments of, let's say 30 seconds at a time, and if I'm just checking, that breaks my focus so bad.
Oh, yeah. There's research that shows that, don't quote me on it, but it's around this, which says basically 1 interruption in the day can make your work harder by 20% or something.
Yeah.
There's literal research that suggests that 1 interruption, 1 disturbance, and your focus is gone. It's going to make it harder for you to accomplish your goals, no matter how easy the goal is.
I had to edit the bulk of a video to leave for this trip. When I first started out, it was like a week to edit a video and it became 2 days. But then that video I edited in like an afternoon. Because I was like, I have to get this done. I'm going on a trip now. I can't dilly-dally.
Yeah.
And I think I've completely forgot about social media. I was just like hyper-focused. And I was so surprised when I, finished what I needed to finish. And that was because I wasn't checking my phone, because even when my phone just changes number, like the time, I can see it in my peripheral vision.
Oh.
And I lose focus like that. So that's every minute.
That's not good. That's why I always keep my phone
Face down.
face down.
I've started doing that too when I realized that pattern.
People say that it's shady. It's not shady. We just don't want to look at the screen. Also really helps to not have your notifications on. I don't have notifications on since 8 years. And you know what? It's not taken anything away from my life. So many people are like, but what if I miss a work message, or what if I miss something important? You're not going to miss anything important, I assure you. Like, has there been times when I woke up and oops, I should have seen that? Yeah, but like at the same time, by the time you wake up, so many times it's fixed.
Yeah.
So maybe it was better that you slept it off.
Yeah.
So notifications off, social media is, it screws over your attention span.
Yes.
And that can be really bad for people who are doing high levels of work. And I would suggest that if you have free time, rather than doom scrolling, watch a TV show. Because you still need to focus on it for an extended amount of time.
Yes.
So that's better for your brain than going on social media and watching like 30-second videos. I work in marketing and I love social media for what it does, but it can be really bad for your brain long term. So be mindful of that.
So it's a tool and it's up to you how you choose to use it.
Exactly. And I'm not saying it's bad to watch content on there. It's lovely. I love YouTube videos. I love Instagram Reels. And I definitely think that there are times when you're allowed to doom scroll, watch like 20 cooking videos that you're never going to use in your life. Like, there's a time for that. There's a time and place, but just make sure that you're not doing it constantly.
Reading 4 books a day. So what are the 4 books you're currently
reading?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm reading, please don't judge me for this. I'm reading The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene.
Okay.
Robert Greene.
Not Johnny Green.
I'm not particularly fond of Robert Greene, but I do try to challenge myself sometimes by reading books from people that I wouldn't necessarily read.
Yeah.
Just open mindset. And to be fair, it's a very interesting book. And it's making me look at life very differently.
Yeah.
Art of Seduction is one, and then I'm rereading High Performance Habits by Brendan Burchard. It's so funny. Every time I'm on a podcast or something, I'm always rereading that.
So next time you reread it, you can probably a podcast is coming soon somewhere.
Yeah, it's a really good book. Highly, highly recommend. It really teaches you so much about work-life balance, everything. I'm also reading Trader to the Throne, which is like my fiction book for the weekends. I only read fiction on the weekends or at night before sleeping, because you don't want to read something heavy at night because you're turning off your brain, you know? You want to calm your brain down. Please don't read something that's like, even thrillers, like if you're reading fictions, please don't read a thriller or something that's like, that's like making you use your brain too much. You want to read something that relaxes your brain. So fiction is great for that. I'm also reading the 3rd book of A Marvelous Light on my phone. And I'm reading The Power of Nunchi as well. Those are my books right now.
So 5?
Yes, I'm reading 5 right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And not only are you a consumer of books, you are also a writer. I remember being on my school bus, either in high school or in college, when I received the first thing you ever wrote. The sayings.
That was the 2nd book I wrote, actually.
Really?
Yeah. Before that, there was Epitome.
Oh.
But it was a big deal for me to have one of my closest friends have a book of mine. Like, that was so huge to me. Like, in a different part of the country.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
I did. Okay. So tell me about how you got into writing.
I've always written.
Yes.
Start there. I've always written. I don't remember a time before writing. I remember maybe a time before reading. I don't remember a time before writing. I used to write poetry all the time when I was a kid. I think it was a coping mechanism for all of the things I was going through.
Yeah.
And also my dad used to write, so I think I kind of partly might have gotten it from him. I can't believe I put people through this. I literally wrote a song and sang it in the embassy at like the age of 8 or 9.
Oh, wow.
It is the most embarrassing thing in the world. Like when I watched it recently, it's so bad.
People probably found it adorable.
I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
I'm sure they did. I was very cute. Thank God for that. I first got published when I was about 11. I submitted my poetry to this anthology and they published it. It came out like years later that they were scamming people, but to be fair, they did used to publish their books actually.
Okay.
So they were making money off of those books, which is how they were scamming people. But I won certain, like 3 of their competitions, and they published my poetry pieces 3 times.
Okay.
Which is still a huge deal because even though it ended up being a scam, like they used to get like thousands of submissions. And it was in Spanish. And then when I was in high school in Tanzania, I started running the school magazine. We didn't have a school magazine before I came in.
Oh.
I basically started it. I was like, hey, we should have a school magazine. And so I did a lot of journalistic writing for that. And yeah, that's how I started. I guess I was always into writing. When I started working for myself, when I started working interning, etc., it was in content writing because I knew it was my strong skill. I knew I could write well. So I looked for internships in content writing. I happened to also end up in marketing because content writing was first, once upon a time, like a part of marketing, like digital marketing, social media. Now it's no longer that, but it's very separate. But yeah. So content writing, I fell into it because I needed the money. It was something I could do. I enjoyed it so much that I started my own digital media company.
Yes.
And I'd already had that experience of like journalistic writing with my school magazine. And I really enjoyed it. And with She the Queen really pushed me in terms of writing, really. I was writing things like researching. I'd never researched that much before writing. I'd never interviewed such important people.
Right.
Like, how do I connect with them? What's the right questions? How do I edit this so that on social media people want to read it?
Yes.
So it was something that really shifted the way I write in my brain. During this time, I was still writing books. Why did I publish? So I've always been writing poetry as a form of like getting out of my own head, emotions, all of that, all of the good things, trying to like navigate life. Yes. And I guess really I just wanted my name out there. I was turning 18 or I was already 18, not really certain. And I was like, I should publish. And I'd been writing a lot of poetry that year because my dad had just passed, lots of emotions, life had changed significantly. So I had like a really good collection of poetry. And it turned out that it flowed in a way that when it started, it was all very dark, but at the end, like some of the poetry pieces I was writing were very light, very much like finding out what life is about. It ended up flowing really well, almost like chapters.
Right.
So I was like, maybe I should just collate it and publish it.
That was Sayings for a Good Life.
No, that was Epitome. Epitome. God, I can't believe I forgot my own book's name. Epitome. Something of teenage perspectives.
Yeah.
Here's a side note. If you want to publish a book, don't name it something you can't remember. So Epitome was the first book. It was a collection of poetry that I'd written. It was about grief. It was about society, about the world. It was also the first time America had elected a certain president.
Yeah.
And I was very into American politics at the time because I was going to study in America for my college. So it really did impact my life a lot to see that happen the first time. And I've always been a liberal. So that's a very heavy book. I recently read a poetry piece from it. I was like, actually, that's pretty decent. Not bad for a 16, 17, 18-year-old.
Honestly, like if you read it 10 years later and you still like, hey, this is it. Yeah, because you're usually the critic of your own work.
Oh, I for sure am.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why I only have 2 published books because it's so critical, right? But yeah, I really just wanted to publish, and it was easy to publish a book that's basically already been written. It just has to be collated, right? So I put together all of my poetry pieces. Within like 2 weeks, I published my first book. I researched online, how do you publish your own book? I don't even know how I found out that you could publish your own book. I don't remember that. I just research, internet's your friend. Research if you want to get things done. I hate it when someone comes to me, I don't know how to do this. In AI age, you don't know how to do something? I'm sorry.
You just need to know how to ask the right questions.
Exactly.
The answers are all out there.
I think if you really want to do something, you figure it out.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. And if you want someone to tell you everything, you shouldn't be doing it. You clearly are just not motivated enough. But that's how I published my first book. Sayings I published because I wanted to put something positive out into the world. Sayings was very deliberate. It wasn't just, I want to get published. Sayings was because I wanted to teach people something about life. So it's a manifestation book. It's a book with a lot of sayings that can help you through different periods of your life, and you can read them and they can help you navigate certain aspects of life. Also has like cut out affirmations at the very end, so you can cut them out and put them in a jar, read them.
So that one became a physical book. Yeah. Did they both?
They're both physical books.
Okay.
Yeah. Amazon. Shameless plug.
Plug away.
But yeah, they're both published books. And I also have a planner I've published.
Yes.
I've also had magazines that I've published, like physically. You can buy them most times. And I'm hoping to publish a proper novel this year.
A novel. That's so exciting.
It's a big challenge because I've been writing forever. I have like 14 works in progress. It's not even a joke. I do have works in progress that are pretty much finished books, to be honest, but I just don't go back to them. There's a lot of fear, I think, around writing because it's such a big part of my life. It's scary. Like, what if it sucks? I've been told it doesn't suck, thank God. But, you know, like, what if it does? But it is a challenge that I'm trying to take head on. I really want to publish a proper novel.
And where do you find the time to write?
I don't. That's why I don't end up publishing. No, I'm kidding. You have to make time. I try to do like 15 minutes of writing every day when I was writing. So I'm not currently writing. I have a block again. And I also had a lot of work. So sometimes you have to learn in life that you can't do everything all the time.
Right.
So you have to be okay with pushing and prioritizing and changing priorities, which is okay. It's not a problem. So not right now, I'm not writing. When I had a little more time, I was writing a lot. But even when I'm not writing, I try to do at least once a week, just get something on paper. That's very useful. Like having a goal of at least once a week doing something and making sure. And yeah, it's something I learned from, I don't remember who it was, like probably some book somewhere, maybe Robin Sharma. Ooh, I think it is literally from High Performance Habits. If you want to finish a book, then write 500 words every day. Like have a goal, write it, don't delete it, don't look at it, just write it.
Okay.
And what happens a lot of times is when you write that first 500 words, you get in the flow. But if you wait for inspiration to strike, and then it's never going to work.
Are you hoping this one to be through a publisher, or would you like it to be self-published again?
I wouldn't mind it being by a publisher.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's a hard work getting yourself published properly. So I'm not going to stop myself if I can't get a publisher.
Okay. How far along are you in the writing of this?
So I'm not yet even sure which one of my works I want to publish.
You got so many.
Yeah, there's a lot of works in progress. One is like barely like 10% done. I do have one which is like 80% done, so I'm like, maybe I should just finish that one and publish it. I also have a children's book that I've worked on, and that is literally like 95% done. So I'm like, maybe I should just like work done. So I've not selected which one of these works are actually going to be the published ones, but who knows?
Children's book, like how young?
6 to 13.
Okay. Are you doing illustrations with it?
If I do, I would probably ask my brother to do them.
Ask
That's
me,
he
yeah.
illustrates, yeah.
So I guess my memory is correct that I read one of your published works on a school bus. Probably uni school bus. And also you sent me the Good Life Planner.
Did I really?
Because like you said, you needed to send 2 physical books somewhere for it to be available on Amazon or something.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, you sent it to me.
I've used the planner so much myself.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing about your books. Is there anything we should have talked about that we haven't talked about?
I feel like we could do a whole other episode on that.
We could, yeah. Well, we'll keep it in a different episode.
Exactly.
I think we covered a lot of interesting points today already.
Yeah.
If the people want to find you, where should they find you?
Instagram, Annie.Chopra. Please follow me.
Yes. Annie, thanks again so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me on.
Awesome.
I've been feeling down all night. You tell me it's alright. It's alright.
Thank you.
Alright.
Very insightful one.
Yes, very much so. Yay.
Try
Thank you.